Prem Pals is back. Back. Feeling fucking great after that weekend. How you feeling, Sean?
Back like Affleck. Gonna need some insurance from Ten Hag. So back, quack, Affleck. Get me that insurance.
Do you let these games like destroy your weekend? Because I do. My wife was always like, I hope Tottenham wins today, not because I fucking care, but so that you're in a good mood. And I was definitely in a good mood after that game. How do you take losses? Like, does it piss you off the whole weekend, or you just kind of shake it off? And
It definitely affects my full week. Because you want your team to start off well. It's just such an important gauge on your season.
Yeah.
Even though we started extremely poorly last year, we went 2 games in, we were down, and funny. It's just a football. Football is just a funny game because it did look like we were in dire straits, and then we made some panic buys, and we end up in third and then back in Champions League and things like that. So the first two matches, do they have a mental effect to me? Of course, because you spend a bunch of money, you think that you're going in one direction, but I can say that when I went and saw the preseason match and the preseason matches that I watched, I could tell we just weren't clicking. We're not a full product during this still new rebuild under Ten Hag. It's just constant, and that's not an excuse, but it's just where we are, and I don't know where a lot of these players fit. But hopefully we get the right corgs to get the gears moving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to unpack from that performance, but I'd like to start with a quote from a man named Roy Keane, who was in attendance at the match. He said, "I think Man United are the new Spurs. Desperate. Absolutely desperate." What do you make of that quote from Mr. Roy Keane?
Well, I love that we dive into this quote first of all, and I love
gotta mention it
that this is the beginning. So my question would be why do you think his opinion is so relevant or holds so much merit and weight to you and to audiences, to the fair weather fan as well as just the neutral fans? Why do you think?
I mean, because he's a legend, and I think his opinion is warranted. I mean, he's a hard ass, right? He's always like, he doesn't sugarcoat anything. So I like when he's more direct, so that I think his opinion matters, because he's a legend.
Okay, so you would say it's due to his history, achievements, accolades, the impact that he made at his time during United, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, then, as I analyzed that match, I would say by that same logic, the match said, would it be fair to say that most of the things that happened in the match, besides the scoreline, are relevant in the grand scheme of things?
I don't know about that. That's just basically saying all matches are irrelevant.
Not all. I'm just saying, would it be fair to say that the first 2 matches, as we were discussing, make it seem that one team outshines the other in the grand scheme of things?
I see your point, right? It's 2 games in, and I'm not trying to obviously I'm on a huge high from that game.
Yeah.
I think it's trending well for us. I think it's not trending well for you. But could we have a completely different conversation 2 weeks from now? 100%. It's way too early to be like, United are trash. You guys are even going to make Europe, and Tottenham are going to fucking win the league. Of course not. Not saying that. But I do think, after the week 1 result, you guys won that game. But I did think Wolves, especially in the midfield, were pretty dominant. So, I do think there is a trend in both teams. So, yeah, of course, one game is relatively irrelevant in the entire season, but you guys have had our number, man. You guys have beat us. I don't think we've beat you for, I want to say, 3 seasons. And until yesterday,
here's the stats
until Saturday,
I have the stats.
How long was it?
So since that 6-1 defeat in October, 2020. So you are riding high, but do remember, 2 seasons ago, you guys beat us 6-1, October 2020. Since then, United have won 4, drawn 1, and lost 2. That's yesterday and the 6-1 included.
Got it. So you guys have had our number. I saw a statistic. Until Saturday, there was only 2 teams who've never lost at the new Tottenham Stadium since we built it, and it was United and Liverpool. You guys have never lost. So now we've just got to check off that Liverpool box this year. But yeah, I get it. I'm not trying to to rub your face in shit
Oh
too
no, no,
much.
no. It's
But
because if Bruno would have scored that sitter, and we got that penalty, which we'll discuss. It's a different game. It's another 2-2, which I think we ended last season with a 2-2 draw. For me, it's like I enjoy. I've never really been like, oh God, Tottenham are doing well during the season or not
yeah,
doing well, because I mean, you guys created your own word for stuff like that. It's
but
harsh to know
sounds
that
like you're the new Spursy team though. I mean, like what do you think of Keane? Like, is that I mean, I know what you think of Keane as a player, but like,
yeah,
is that too much? Like, is he overreacting? Is he over being ridiculous here? I mean, are you really that desperate? Like, it seems like you're calm. Doesn't seem like you feel
yeah.
like you're in dire straits by any means, right? Like it was a bit of an overreaction, or I mean, what do you think?
Well, for me, it's like, t- just like you and so many others, to hold that statement and such virtue from a club legend.
I just like it
You
because it
know,
sounds good.
yeah. I thought, using such things, or taking a club legend's word at it, isn't, and even in the way you would explain, is living in the past, correct? Like, because this guy
Fair.
had all these accolades and things like this, but yet it leaves this everlasting impact. So the way that I take it, because you view it because y'all won, and you're like, wow, that legend just went in on him. But he's a pundit because of the things that he's done.
Hot
Just
takes
like,
too.
United, it's like, of course I can go back and talk about all the trophies and the Champions Leagues and the big nights and everything like that, but don't want to live in the past. So for
Yeah.
me, it's actually a bigger dig at your club, because he's comparing us to a club that's been in a
I
state
knew
of
you were going to say
disarray,
that.
been in a club of disarray for decades, constantly, bottling the Spursy, uh, at any remote moment of some sort of glory. So for me, I take it as like, yeah, it hurts. And I do agree with his comparison of how we've looked first couple of matches of our campaign. But in no way do I think like he values, Tottenham over Manchester United
Of course.
in the
Yeah.
general thought process. But of course, you have to like look at it, because the Wolves could have won 4-0. They should have had it.
Yeah.
I'm
But they sort of
not going to
bottled it.
shy away from it. Yeah. Oh yeah. But I'm not going to shy away from the fact that we're not playing well. We're not gelling. On that note, we just found out that Mason Mount is injured, and is going to be
Ah,
out for the
okay.
next 2 matches. Some are saying, ouch. Others are saying a blessing in disguise. Personal opinion. We need to rework the midfield. And I think Eriksson adds a little bit more creativity, as we chatted last week.
Well, let's
So
talk. Like, I mean, I'm very curious to break apart the Manchester United midfield, and the biggest thing for me, I mean, Mount was poor again. We can agree on that. But Casemiro, like, I don't. What the hell happened? Like, he
those
got
2 points
run
go hand in hand.
over.
Those 2 points go hand in hand.
Yeah.
He's playing two people's positions. He's playing two jobs.
Yeah. Fair.
People are saying that Mason Mount is more defensive than Eriksson. Kudos. I agree with that. But when you have a more creative midfielder moving around the way that he is, he's dragging other players with him. I bring this point up
Yeah.
a lot, because I feel it's a very not seen and underrated part of the game. Like, people don't understand that, the more creative or the talents that certain players have, like Holland, people look at me like, dude, 3 men on that guy
Yeah.
anytime he's
You
in the
draw
box.
defenders and
Yeah,
open space for other
exactly,
players.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't know where position at Mount is actually playing. So he's getting, if he gets overrun, there's only Casemiro, and then your back four, and we're trying to do the inverted fullback thing with Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka now. So they're trying to decide if they go up, pull up, or stay back based on the first waves of the match. So
Yeah.
watching Mount try to be in an attacking position, and then you have Bruno, who's like, okay, I'm trying to do the same thing here, just on this side. And then everyone's like, look at Casemiro running around with this, like, like a chicken with his head cut off. He's marking every space and man that's now gotten past our midfield.
Yeah. That actually makes sense. I
So
mean,
it's just hard. And then we don't want him to foul, because we know he's got a red card in him. So he
yeah.
can't go in as hard as he wants. He's trying to play the space, trying to anticipate where the ball is going in. So it's a lot to work. I'm in no way am I defending the fact that we didn't have a strong midfield, and he's a big leader, and he should be, communicating more. telling Mount stop. Actually, I know what the manager's saying. Maybe stop going up so far. I need your help for until we get a grasp on where they're going and who the stronger players, especially with a lot of newer players on Tottenham's side.
Yeah. I mean, I was expecting to see
strengthen.
McTominay come in. I mean, it wasn't like the spacing was poor. You know, he wasn't great on the ball, but like, I mean, Sarboy, like our little Senegalese wonder kid, was muscling him off the ball too. I felt like there needed to be a bit more weight being thrown around, and McTominay, big Scottish boy, can do that a bit. But yeah, I mean, so it sounds like you're not too concerned with Casemiro, aging, maybe being out of form. It's more the system, it's more new partnerships in the midfield, is putting him under pressure to where he can't perform like he was last year, because last year he was phenomenal. So
we're gonna have to look at buying a backup in that, and that's what we were initially trying to do at the beginning of the transfer window, was trying to find someone that can help him. And man, Casito was, even though he had, gave away that penalty, I don't think that was a real testament to his ability. But we were looking at players like that to come in and help, and we still are. That's why we're looking at Amrabat, because we need someone that, if Casemiro's having an off match, if he gets that second yellow card, if he needs help, and we're not necessarily parking the bus, but we need somebody who's got the attributes that he has and the foresight that he has in the midfield, and we need to play that type of game and just kind of like dig in. We need that. So we are looking for somebody, even though Amrabat's not a young cat. We are looking for someone for support, or
some rotation.
Who's going to be the next step. And we do have the 18-year-old, which is, he got injured during the preseason, and it's just sad that we're looking at our youth are going to be the backup for someone as experienced as Casemiro.
Yeah, I mean, he's 31. He should probably rotate. It would be nice to get a backup.
And we have a lot of matches.
Yeah, I mean, on that subject, the number 6 role, Yves Bissouma. Holy shit! Like, honestly, like, Conte should come out and explain why Yves Bissouma sat on the bench all last year, because he was phenomenal. Man of the match, second game in a row. He brings the ball up. He looks confident. He can turn a man. He opens up space. He can pass forward. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I almost forgot about that we signed him, and he was he was the ticking clock of the Brighton midfield before we bought him, and then Caicedo basically was the same mold. But I mean, Bissouma was insane. I had no idea he was this good. And I don't get how he didn't play the entire season last year, basically. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, what did you think of him? I mean, I didn't expect him to be our best player the first 2 matches this season. I thought it would be Madison or something like that, but he's been phenomenal for us.
If you go and back and listen to our last season, when you guys picked him up, I was ranting and raving because I wanted him badly. I said that, on air numerous times. Like, I really wanted that guy. And we were actually looking at him before we got Casemiro. And obviously, quick to forget when you get a star player from Real Madrid comes in, and it's just like, well, if you had to choose, even in that moment, if someone sat them next to each other and like, which one do you want? Your heart says
Casemiro.
Yeah, because you want instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, Bissouma has proven himself on this Brighton squad, but how is he going to mesh with the new squad? And to see him not get the playing time, I was like, what's going on here? And I think you guys have another diamond in the rough on that. Was it right back?
Left back, Destiny Udogie.
No. The one that's not that. I think you guys sent him out on loan, but you guys bought him last year.
Pape Mate Sarr, the other center midfielder.
No, the right back. What was his name?
Pedro Porro, Jed Spence.
Spence. I
He's
think
out.
you guys.
He'll never play for us.
I don't understand that. Like, we were heavily linked with him for a while too. And
I agree. Like, he got the Conte. First of all, Conte is my least favorite manager that's ever managed Spurs. I want to put that out there. I can't stand him. He basically looked at Spence and was like, "Nah," and sent him out. And he went and played in France. The problem is we have too many good fullbacks. We need to sell them, right? I mean, Pedro Porro, fantastic, better than Spence going forward. Emerson Royale, great defensive right back. So Spence will go on loan or we'll sell him. I don't think he has a place in this team. But yeah, I mean, just to go back to that midfield again. So, we got to talk about the Sarr boy, Pape Mate Sarr. I think he's 20, 21 years old. I mean, I don't want to make the obvious comparison to Yaya Toure, but like, shit, man, he's physical for his age. He glides across the pitch. He had a beautiful goal against you guys. I mean, he's playing well beyond his years. So I did not expect him to start a game this season, honestly. Like, he's just sort of been in the background for a while, played a few matches here and there, but he was terrific. I'm all for him starting games. I mean, him, Madison, and Basuma is a very strong midfield. So yeah, I just want to, give a little hats off to the Sar boy. He was fantastic. I also thought a standout performance was our goalie Vicario. If last pod we were talking about him, and I was like, he's not it. He's not it. He doesn't have confidence. He's not good with the ball. He made some ridiculous saves that game.
He did make some good saves.
You guys got probably unlucky not to have a goal. I mean, there was numerous opportunities. Bruno's header, Rashford had that close chance that he saved, but that last free kick you guys had. But I was really, really impressed. I thought Vicario was actually better than Onana that game, and I think Onana's an excellent keeper. I rate him. What would you think of the little Italian keeper?
I think he had a good match, and a lot of it goes into you're in front of the home crowd for the first time in this season. You have a point to prove. If things don't go well, they're going to start selling people left and right. It's just, it can become a domino effect. So I'm sure that the chat before the match was like, hey, fellas, like, everything is new here. People's eyes are on us. We need to get our hometown fans rooting for us and give them something to be excited about. And let's get this win against United at home. You get people on board with the project. It's a big thing. So not to say it's a false sense of confidence, but it's also a driving force in your opening performances.
Make it till you make it.
And you don't know, like, some turn out to be massive stars. Some just have, a few matches and then fizzle out. But here nor there, the end result's what matters. And having a good performance, and then not just winning by one, but by two, really boosts confidence. So
Massively.
if anything, you should have another good, couple of good showings after this. Even if you don't do well next week, you still have that sense of confidence.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, we got a pretty easy fixtures the next 3 games, but you're right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's the energy. Like, Ange Postecoglou's brought an energy. Like, it wasn't for me just that we won. We actually played well. We had a bunch of tricks and flicks. We were dribbling. We maintained possession. It was exciting. Like, I wasn't bored. And I can't tell you how many games I watched last year where I was just bored out of my mind, looking at my phone, just like, it was hard to follow every play. So it was a great game, but it was a bit of a tale of two halves, to be honest with you. I mean, we were constantly shit talking through the match, and, I was kind of saying, oh, pretty even first half, but I definitely think you guys were probably a bit better, not a ton better. I think specifically Wan-Bissaka was, to me, probably your best player in the first half, not in the second half. Sonny was pretty quiet, but then in the second half, Sonny came out and he was excellent. He was a part of almost all of our attacks, great out wide, feeding the ball inside. I thought he was really good, but yeah, I mean, that first half was a little nervy, to be honest. You guys came out really well. I thought the first 10, 15 minutes, I was like, shit, I don't know how this is going to go. But then we kind of grew into the game, and in the second half, I mean, we played really well. So yeah, it was a bit different. One other thing while we're talking about the Spurs side, I want to mention is, we talk about this Romero versus Martinez debate and how who's the best Argentinian defender. I mean, shit, that own goal from Martinez was terrible. I also thought Martinez was just terrible that whole game. And Romero and Van de Ven is looking pretty promising for a center back partnership. I mean, you got to realize the standard we had before, right? Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, right? So, I mean, to have an upgrade on those guys with Van de Ven looks great. But I was actually quietly pretty impressed with our defense. This new guy, this new big Dutch kid, 6'4", runs around like he's a little kid. He's been great. And, I know Romero's not your favorite. He's not your cup of tea, but I thought he was pretty solid, man. I mean, he's quick, he's strong, he positions himself well. I don't get the hate, to be honest.
Because he lives on the pitch, he just rolls around a lot. It's like it's not hard for a defender to get a foul if you're Argentinian and know how to act well. Where as Martinez isn't acting and put his foot out there and gets a deflection, goes in the goal. He doesn't hide and put his face down like, oh, I got injured during that own goal. that blade of grass came up and took me out, and I'm going to lay
That's
here
fair.
for 10 minutes until at least get,
He's full of emotion, man.
Yeah, right.
He's a bit of a
and Martinez just goes right back to it like, hey, man, fucked up, or excuse my language, but messed up, and, we move. And if they got that deep, there's only so much, your defenders can be doing, especially when people are getting pulled out of position. Again, for me, it comes down to, as Pep created this new version of fullbacks doing the inverted thing, we're not ready for it. But Ten Hag wants to play forward momentum ball, so we're trying to implement it. And unfortunately, it's just causing issues. And it may work. It may work. Just right now, they're trying to figure it out. And we're going to have to take goals like that to figure out who's going to cover where. And Varane is he going to be pushing up further now that Onana is playing up further up? It's just it's throwing people into positions. And again, not excuses. A loss is a loss, but watching some of those things go down, I'm not like, oh, terrible, replace him, find someone else that's better than him, because the butcher is ultimately our best center back. And then next up behind him would be Luke Shaw, which is better than majority of center backs.
I think Martinez just had a bad game, and I also think like we were pressing really hard, which I don't know, like that's just a bit different. Like everyone was just blasting at him nonstop. But I think the future of Argentina is Romero and Martinez together, and they're different, right? The cat dog mentality. I mean, Romero's biggest flaw is that he's an insane person, right? Like he could just all of a sudden just try to smash someone to bits and get a red card. He's a hothead. Now I'm hoping that he's our assistant captain. Maybe he settles down into this role because the talent is there, but he's kind of crazy. He'll roll around, he'll dive a bit, of course. I mean, he's kind of a Lamella regen in his attitude, but I fucking love him. He's the type of guy that you would hate on every other team, but if he's on your team, he's your asshole. So you like him.
Yeah. And that's why I bring it up, is because he gets those fouls when you have momentum, and that's your job. You got to take the gas out of it. You got to just let the air out right when you think, they're starting to build on something and they're going to keep coming at you. You knock them off kilter, stay on the ground for a while, take the air out of that whole energy, out of that whole press. We restart, all of a sudden everyone's out of position. It's part of the job. I get it. But when you compare like actual center back, the way that they're supposed to be trained to drill like that, it's hard for me to be
mistakes.
like, and what people don't see is also Martinez's passing ability. He hits those lanes so well and puts himself in good positions for Onana to not get in trouble, but also to progress. So there's just a lot in that comparison that, for me, it's like you said, it works for your squad, just like Martinez works for us. And I just think he's just such a dog at it. Like he gives everything. He's the closest thing to Vidic that we've had since, and I absolutely adore that. I was just watching because his anniversary of his retirement was just like 2 days ago, and so they're showing all the videos of his last speech at Old Trafford saying thank you, and the crowd's giving the chant, comes from Serbia.
I mean, he was like a bit more intimidating than Martinez is the thing, though. Martinez is kind of small. Like, I don't know. I know he's physical. I've seen him tackle well, but he doesn't have the same. Vidic was like, he's a scary Serbian center back and had that, like, I can see the comparisons you're drawing for sure, but I just think he was a different breed, like.
Yeah, they made a comment saying that, I don't know if it was Rio, but I felt like it was someone from another team. That's why it struck me. So it's like he would put his head in most places that other players wouldn't put their feet. And I was like,
100%. That's a great quote. And
because I mean, everyone's seen that picture, him putting his feet to the cleats and everything. But here nor there, it's just I just like his workability, and then, like I said, I think he's just the closest thing to that, with the passion as well as the physicality. That's why I draw that comparison.
Yeah, that's fair. So I mean, talking about the game, we gotta address it. Penalty, no penalty. What do you think?
I mean, it's one of those things where if it's against you. Yeah, if it's against you, you're like, no way. If you're the team, then you're like, hell yeah.
I can't even say no way. That was a penalty all day.
It was unnatural.
His arm was like this,
Yeah, but we saw a few of them over the weekend, And as much as it sucks, the refs are going to be held accountable because they're trying to do this whole new card disciplinary thing, for all sorts of like little touches and dissent and things like that. Like, I get it, and they're gonna have to figure it out, but it just feels like another VAR mess that took so long to
Yeah.
implement and still don't have it
Do you
correctly.
think that you guys getting that decision the week before had anything to do with it? They were like, I don't know, because I mean, the decision before that was a penalty, and then they admitted they made a mistake and all that. Do you think they were like, we can't give United another close one, or do you think that didn't play into it at all?
Well, I think let me see who played on Friday. Was it Brighton Wolves? Was that Friday or what was the
No,
Friday
Friday was
match?
like Sunderland or Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest, I think.
Okay. I don't know. I just felt like I saw a lot of those calls throughout the weekend and
Yeah,
being
there was a
penalties,
couple other
not
ones.
penalties. Yeah, for in quite a few matches that it's just kind of hard because you would think at this point that it's not about being a clear and obvious answer. You have it on video.
I
They
know.
I feel like they're stubborn. I feel like the ref on the pitch is like, no, I made this call, and they're obviously now not going to go try everything not to go against that call. So we stand in unison on the call. It's like you just saw that red card for McAllister. It's just been overturned.
Yeah,
So he plays the next match. It's like, and they they apologized for the penalty that should have been a penalty in another match. They went in there and they apologized, and refs got suspended last week for not calling correctly. It's like it's a mess. Like, what are the
yeah. Why
refs
are they so
doing?
bad? It
Yeah, it's
seems
like
so easy.
it's recorded and you're able to use that. It's like going into a test and they're like, you can use your phone to get the answers to the
Yeah,
test, but you're like, no, I know this. I'm just gonna go off what's in my head, and if I get it wrong, I'll blame it on my phone. It's like, yeah, whatever. It's I just don't understand that. I don't
I don't
understand, but
either.
it's here nor there. You have to move forward. Some calls go your way, and some don't. We can go back and forth about, woulda, shoulda, couldas, but the results stay the same until they're giving you points back for this type of stuff, which will never happen. Then it's irrelevant. You're just kind of like, okay, cool. They got a slap on the wrist. See you next match. And then they go off and do
Yeah. It needs to
Champions League.
change. I think they
Yeah,
should have like serious like fines almost, or like
agreed.
performance evaluations that like where money's involved. So they're very much
Agreed.
like, shit, I need to be accurate here, else I could, get fined 10 grand or something. Cause
I was
sometimes I'm
just
like,
gonna
this
say the
just
same thing.
makes no sense. Like that one, like, I mean, I get it. It's not like it was intentional. Romero was just diving down and it was unlucky. But at the same time, like his arms were in an unnatural position. And like, if that happened against us, I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So, like, yeah, but
I
it
agreed.
happens.
And I was going to say the same thing. I was thinking earlier, I was like, they need to be held accountable to where it actually affects their pockets and the
Yeah.
amount of matches that they get to ref. It's like you get a serious bad call and we see it, you're off not just for 3 matches, but you don't get pay. You can fine, like serious, allocations. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
We
You're
can
gonna
only
get
say
some,
so
you're
much.
not gonna get some. I mean,
Yeah.
that literally is the story of your first two games.
Yeah. And it's
So
like, I don't get what clear and obvious has to do when you have it recorded. And everyone else watching from home or from the pub are like, I can clearly see non-opinionated that on there that this happened. Is that not clear and
yeah.
obvious? Like, rewind,
Yeah.
zoom in. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever. I mean, who knows if it would have changed the outcome of the game or not. It's possible. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm still over the moon by the game. Love the way we played. Talk about standout performances. I mean, I think this Ange ball is pretty on the eye. I think we're going to be entertaining to watch. I'm a little worried. Madison left that game in a boot, and today they're saying
Lost
that it's
boot.
a MCL strain.
Whoa! I
Um,
thought it was ankle
so
stuff. No.
yeah, I thought it was ankle stuff too, but I guess it's an MCL strain, and I mean, not a tear. I guess a strain is like a small tear or whatever, but like he could be out for a bit, and that's going to hurt a lot because he's been terrific since the moment he came in. Now we have Giovanni Lo Celso on the bench, which I thought we were going to sell, but maybe if Madison's hurt, we don't sell him. He plays, sort of similar. He's never been great for us. He's been excellent for Argentina. Um, we've got some depth to play with, but that worries me a little bit. Um, do you want to revise after the first two games? When we talked about the top six, you said that Man United are going to win the title this year. I said Man United will get third. I would like to revise my table, and I don't even think Man United are going to get top four, to be honest with you. based
You
on
don't have to get top 4 though this year either.
these
You
two
you
games.
can
I
get
agree.
5.
But
You
do
can
you
get 5
still
and be in
hold by that
Champions
you're going to
League.
win the title, or do you want to slightly revise your prediction?
Well, of course I came out with that shock value because that's what you want right out the gate. It'd be easy to say City,
City.
Arsenal, Liverpool. Like who wants to hear that right there? Like every single pundit, every single
It's the safe call.
so, yeah, everyone's going to say that stuff. So why would you listen to a list and be like, yep, agreed, yep.
Same. Yep.
This is boring FC. Um, for me, I think that Brighton are going to be higher actually than I thought. I could see Brighton edging out Liverpool easily. So for me, at the moment, because City are still buying, I think it'll be City. Um, Arsenal, I do want to chat just a little bit about it. We won't go too in depth, but their last 2 games, yes, they won, and it shows that they're still, progressing. But
They
they
weren't.
weren't like the
Yeah.
most amazing performances that are so convincing that you like, oh, they are the next City or something. And now they've had time, they've had a window, they've bought in some good players. I
They
mean,
spent a
Crystal
fuck ton.
Palace. Crystal Palace looked great against them on that right side. They were just
Yeah.
breaking them down left and right. They got unlucky not to get a goal. It's almost like saying, look at West Ham pulling it out against Chelsea.
Yeah.
It's hard not to see some of these teams doing better than they did last year just after the first 2 matches. Do I think that these teams are going to win the league? No, I don't. But Brighton, I think, has been on a trajectory that I think they're going to be in the top 3 this year.
They could.
And we're not
They're
even talking
insane.
about Newcastle, because Newcastle, yes, they didn't win the match against City, but it's not like they weren't playing well. It was a 1-0 kind of, you know,
Yeah, it's a bit of
stalemate.
a dogfight, to be
So
honest. I mean,
yeah. So
there's a
you
lot of
see
good
those.
teams. This year's open, I think. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think City, Arsenal, I agree with you. They're not, turning heads, but sometimes we've talked about this in
Right.
episodes past, like winning while playing not that great is the sign of a champion. And that worries me. Like I was hoping so much that Palace could, to just equalize and have a draw, because Arteta's a bit of a vibes guy, right? Like when they were riding high, they were crushing. And as soon as they started to crack, they became a little Spursy. And I think that they bottled it completely, the championship last
Yeah.
year. So like if they don't start hot, I do think they'll struggle. And I think if they start dropping some points early, then they're going to have no chance and City's going to run away with it. But I agree, man. Brighton looks great. Newcastle looks great. Aston Villa looked great. Spurs are looking better than expected. Brentford looks great. They smashed Fulham this weekend. I think
Yep.
it's going to be a fun year in terms of like
Exactly.
openness. Liverpool looked decent, but not great. United are underperforming, but you guys could turn it around at any time. I think it's going to be really interesting year.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of these teams that are performing really well, that what we're not thinking about is when they're going to play the squads that aren't playing well at all. Like they're going to start just beating people. Look at Everton just getting swept up
Smashed.
already, So
Yeah.
the thing is, there's a lot of these teams playing big matches early on. So it makes it hard to gauge, because both the teams, win or lose, like Newcastle and City, you don't know if Newcastle's going to go on and just destroy. The same thing with Palace. They could be a mid-table team just because of that performance against Arsenal gives you that confidence to go out there against Nottingham Forest or whoever, and be like, we're about to put it on people now.
Yeah. They've got
We just
talent.
we just don't know. So it's going to be interesting. So it's going to be hard for me to revise to the extent of like these are for sure things, because I just don't think that the people like Arsenal are absolutely convincing. Now, I mean, I can say that all the way until the last 3 matches, because look what happened to them last season. They rode high
Yeah.
all the way there,
But I mean, I
and
think I
flubbed
do
it. So
like in the case of United this year, though. I mean, in watching both of your first matches, like there wasn't a lot that I was like, oh wow, like sometimes you lose, but you see flashes of like, okay, well this is working, but this part, it's a problem with defense. To me, there was problems everywhere. Like the attack was so limp. Like I mean, you've got a lot of these guys like Rashford and Sancho and Garnacho, and they're all good players. Anthony hit the post against us, right? But like they're inconsistent. They're in a similar mold. I'm not really frightened by Man United's attack right now with Rashford up top. I don't see where the goals are going to come from. I know that Bruno has goals in him, right? He always does. He's a great player. He's been out of form, but he'll turn it around. But other than that, like where are the goals going to come from? Like, is it going to be Rashford banging in 15, 20 goals, or is it going to be spread around? Like, that's where I see concern, is like, where are the goals in that team right now?
It's 100% obvious that Rashford is not our number 9.
Yeah.
He even did it on that interview on the overlap with Gary Neville, where he said his preferred position is off to the left. He's said it and stuck by that numerous times. Ten Hag putting him up there, of course, he's going to be like, all right, manager, skipper, I'll do what you ask. But you could just see that when Martial came in, that he just did the job a little bit better than Rashford, because he's more comfortable there. He just does the more simple things about like holding the ball up correctly instead of, trying to dine and dash it real quick. He's just like, he's looking for that move that he's got off on the left, where he works his way in, and then when he gets in far enough, breaks some heels and then takes a shot, But he doesn't have that up front. Now he's just like a go-to man who doesn't have the best aerial awareness, when it's just like he's not a target man like that. So Rasmus is coming back for the Forest match, but it's a lot of pressure to put on a kid who still needs to develop. So I don't think that's necessarily going to fix it, but it's obviously our weakest point. And that can lead right into me telling you who I prefer my starting 11 would be.
Yeah.
Up front, it would be Martial or Rasmus Højlund, Rashford on the left, Sancho on the right. I just think that Antony's a one-trick pony. It's too hard. Like, I do love his track.
He's great at that one trick, though.
And defensive ability. I do like that. He does track back if he loses a ball or sees a ball. That's a 50-50. I love that. But we bought Sancho for that reason, to play off the right. He looks good when he comes in. He just needs a run.
He needs some confidence built too. Yeah.
And he needs a run. And then in the midfield, it'd be Bruno, Eriksen, and Casemiro. And then the back four pretty much picks itself in the debate between Delo and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think that's just based on the squad you're going against. But for me, it's Aaron Wan-Bissaka right now, because I feel like he is totally proven that he's working on his forward game. And I'm really, really thoroughly impressed. But then Shaw on the left, and then Varane and Martinez in the middle, and Onana, of course, in the back. So yeah, there's it's not looking cohesive, but I think if we make those changes that I just brought up, you give that team a run and let them get comfortable together, I think it works better, instead of having, Ten Hag has his I guess his just the people that he brought in, it's on him, and he really doesn't want to look like he's making bad decisions. So he's really sticking to his guns on the Mount and Antony thing, which I just don't think are working.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think that Spurs and United actually have a similar issue right now. I mean, if I'm going through the starting 11 of what I'd like to see for Spurs moving forward, assuming Madison's healthy, obviously Vicario and net, we've got some interesting fullback options. I think Keane also, or maybe it was Gary Neville, said that Spurs were disrespecting United with the lineup we came out with, because Pedro Porro is traditionally a wing back that attacks and doesn't defend well, and Udogie is the same. So typically we pair our left back Udogie, who's more attacking, with a right back who can drop invert like Emerson Royale and be a bit more defensive. But we played both at the same time, which none of us, no Spurs supporter expected that starting lineup. And it kind of worked. Like, they were both attacking, they both dropped in, and it worked well. So I'd still probably say Emerson Royale on the right, Udogie on the left. Center backs, it's obviously going to be Romero, Van de Ven. Yves Bissouma's our number 6. Madison, Sarr for now, but some people forget Bentancur tore his ACL last year, and he was probably our best player, other than Kane. So he's going to come back soon. But Sarr for now until Bentancur's back. We got Sonny on the left and Kulusevski on the right. And then our problem position, the same as you, is striker. We got Richarlison, who's been shit, to be honest, the last 2 games. Like, he's industrial. He works hard. He's physical. He's a pain in the ass. You could tell Martinez was just like, this guy's like a fucking mosquito. Like, he's just running around a lot and creating space, but he hardly touches the ball. He's super inconsistent. He needs someone to push against. So it's interesting. We have similar problems. That center forward striker role for both of our teams is going to dictate a lot this year. And there's no more Harry Kane. Harry Kane's off scoring goals in Germany. It's fucking hard to see. But yeah, it's interesting. We've got similar problems there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I was thinking today that if we had the money that Chelsea had, the way that what I would do to fix our issue is buy Ivan Toney right now. Like buy him while he's
That's what I
suspended.
want Spurs to do.
Buy him
So
while he's
bad.
suspended. Have him come in January. So whatever we're doing up until that point, you're not going to be ready for this attitude and this guy that's just physically working on physicality in the background right now comes out. He'd be just the perfect person to match up with Højlund. Like you start 1-1, you know, start Højlund on matches where we're going to play a little bit more of a tricky midfield scenario where we're moving stuff around, like I said, with Ericsson in the middle, so it's all creative, and we're trying to figure things out like that, and get the kid to get acclimated to the squad. But then when you need to go in strong heavy, you got Tony. Just let's play.
Oh, he's great,
and
man.
he would be a perfect fit,
he'd be
and
expensive.
he'd go so cheap. No,
You don't think?
not if you bought him right now.
Yeah,
Brentford would try
maybe
to.
so.
I think Brentford would try to take you to the bank, but if you made a case of like, we'll buy him now, so you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about any other repercussions or anything. I get that you think he's going to come back and just be amazing, but what if he's not? Like, we'll
And
take
their
that
backup
chance.
and Buemo's been great. They don't even
Yeah.
need him, to be
Yeah,
honest.
so I mean, I would pay upwards to like 75, 80 if they were like, all right, pay this then.
But
And
Brentford is like a really smart club. Like,
yeah,
you know, they're competing directly with United and Spurs in terms of trying to get into that top six or get it close to it. You know, God, Tony would kill it for either of our teams. I think he's a fantastic player.
oh, I just think like the personality, people don't want to deal with it or anything, and I get it. He could mesh things up, but I think in the modern age, like someone that coming in and knowing that we have that type of space and
it'd be great.
problem, people will be like, we can handle it. He's not Pogba, you know, so we'll handle it. Do you think
I
you
love the
guys
idea.
are you guys planning on doing any more purchasing?
I mean,
in this one?
we're continue to be linked to this Gift Orban kid, the Nigerian striker from the Belgian league. But like, I gotta imagine we do. Like, I don't feel comfortable starting the season with only Richarlison. Like, it's just crazy, right? Like, we did try for a little bit moving Son into the middle, but that's just not his best position. Like, he can play in a pinch there, sure. He's fine to be like a backup striker if we needed it because we have injuries. But like, Richarlison needs someone else breathing down his neck. It's funny, he's gone from the position of being like, I'll never play because one of the best strikers in the world is in front of me, to I'm the only striker on the team and I get to play even though I probably don't deserve it based on my past performances. So we've got Kane money, but the problem is you get rinsed, right? When teams know, I mean, it's happened to United forever because you guys have always had money since the Sir Alex Ferguson days. But like, anyone that we bid for is going to be 20 mil, 15 mil more because they're like, they got 100 mil for Kane. They've got money to spend. So I just don't know, but I would like to buy someone, even if it's, you know, someone we don't expect to be a starter that's just pushing Richarlison. I still have some semblance of hope that Richarlison will become good. We've seen him play for Brazil. We saw him play for Everton. There is a good player in there. It's just, he's never shown it in a Spurs shirt. So we'll see.
Yeah. And you saw his dismay when he got pulled off. He was definitely not happy,
furious.
But when you're not producing and you've been on that long, you know, you got to switch things up because they're in their head, and playing up front was my position as well. Your head, you're like, almost there, almost got it. It's one more touch. Next ball that I get, it's going to be the one. I can feel it. You've had a couple of shots. So in your head, it's a process during the match. And you're like, all I need is this little more, you know, so like when you saw Salah come off that match and ripping off his tape, it's because in your head, you're building the match. You're like, all right, now I've worked on these two defenders and I've got them right where I want them. And I've been pulling them off this direction, So in this next ball, I'm going here and goal time.
Then you get pulled.
And then you get pulled. Yeah. So I understand how it hurts.
You need that mentality. Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're not producing and you look at your stats and you're just like, man, you're not putting goals, you only get, you know, it's Eminem. You only get that one shot. You know, what are you going to do with it? You know,
it's true. And I mean, that's an unforgiving position. I mean, we've seen it with, like, I don't know if you remember Roberto Soldado Like, he was one of the top strikers in Spain, and we spent a lot of money on him, and he was, in my opinion, the worst signing in club history. Like he was dog shit. He couldn't score. And then it got to the point where it was like, this guy's never going to score. And I think it got into his head, and then he could never score. Like, if strikers have a drought for a lot, like last season for Richarlison, it got to the point where he scored 2 goals in I think in a cup game, and then in a European game or something like that. But like, he scored no league goals, right? He had that Liverpool one called back. He had a bunch of offside ones called back. But you got to imagine, as a striker, you have a drought, you have a dry spell for 5-6 games, and then you're like, fuck, I need to score. People are going to be on my back, and then you're in your head and you're not confident, you're not scoring. So like, I'm worried. I need, we've got a Bournemouth at the weekend. We've got some easier fixtures coming up. I'm hoping he can get on the score sheet. But it'll be interesting. I mean, we'll see. I mean, do you think that United's going to make another signing before the end of the window, or do you think your books are closed and discount Holland is you're taking a bet on that?
I think that if we get anything positive out of these first 2 performances, is that with Mount now getting injured, panic buys. We did the same thing, last year.
Yeah.
At the end, we were like, we don't have any money. We don't have any money. Oh yeah, we're about to spend 86 million on this dude,
Yeah.
Anthony. We're about to spend 60 something million on Casemiro. Booyah!
You're gonna buy
Last 2
Lukaku,
days.
aren't you? You're
Oh
gonna buy
dear
Lukaku
God.
again.
Dear God. I mean, I don't know. Like at this point, as if we had a target man like that, I don't know how well he would do, but it would be a better option than putting someone who doesn't want to be up there, or is injury prone, or is a young kid. So actually, after thinking about it, I mean, Lukaku wouldn't be terrible. I mean, he wouldn't be amazing, but he was putting in goals for us before he left. So it's like, I didn't have a
He always
massive,
puts in goals,
but
but
he
like,
was
he's just such a volatile
yeah.
guy.
And in big moments, he disappears. And that was that. I think that was my biggest qualm with it. It's just like, we need you now, except for in that Paris game that he did come in where we had the pink kits on and Rashford put on the penalty to win it in the big.
But that would be such a
Paris.
Classic United panic buy. Like, just like throw 80 mil at Lukaku with the
It
last
can't be
day of
worse
the
than
window.
Weghorst. Bro, come
Yeah.
on. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you expect? I'd bring Zlatan back at this point.
Yeah.
Like, we just need an actual number 9 in that role. So yeah, it's easier said than done. And as many jokes as you make, it's like, Weghorst did do a job in some matches by just being that body
Presence.
that knows how to play that role in some aspect. I don't want him back, but here
Yeah.
nor there. It's like, but based on your first 2 matches, do you believe that you guys are going to finish in the top 4 or higher?
I mean, my prediction preseason was 5th. But if we can actually play as well as we've played these first 2 matches, I think we'll push for top 4, and we'll be a competitor in that space, because like, it's relentless. Like, we're just constantly attacking and all that. And I mean, I think it's, it's interesting having Kane gone, right? Like, our team has been centered around Harry Kane for so long. It's almost like all I can remember in the last decade is Harry Kane scoring goals for us. But like, there was a bit of an estranged relationship. Like, I actually listened to on a pod this week that, you remember the Champions League final we were in, where Lucas Moura scored a hat trick against Ajax in the semifinal. Fucking incredible performance. Harry Kane was injured. And then Lucas Moura gets benched in the Champions League final after scoring a hat trick to get us there for Harry Kane. And there's a rumor that like Harry Kane went to the owners and Pochettino and was like, you have to play me. I'm playing in the Champions League final period. Even though I'm not 100%, I'm playing. And a lot of players on the team were like, I mean, it's Harry Kane, right? He's one of the best to do it. But at the same time, it's like, from a vibe perspective, Lucas Moura, how the fuck can you be benched after scoring a hat trick in the semifinal of the Champions League? And so, like, I do think that maybe the relationship with Kane and Tottenham was a bit more estranged. I mean, you remember when he tried to push his way out and go to City? It was a little uglier than a lot of us like to remember. I mean, I still am going to love Kane regardless because of what he did for us. But I think maybe a slight cloud has lifted in the sense that he's gone, and people feel more like they can take the reins and be open. So I'm fucking buzzing after that win. I feel like we could push for top 4, absolutely. But it's like you said, it's 2 matches in. I don't want to go get fully torqued too early. So
Yeah. I think that you guys should put your sights on something like the Carabao Cup,
absolutely,
or the FA Cup, and really, really like push for that, even if it's going to cost you a loss in the Prem. I think that you should stack up on those things because, I mean, you're not playing European football of any sort, any kind,
Yeah.
at all. Like no
I
European
mean,
football.
it's been a long
Like
time, so
not
like
even
that
like
doesn't actually hurt me. Like I'm actually
not
okay with it.
I mean, you're not even playing the Conference Cup. Like there's not even a theme song that you guys get to hear during the middle of the week. Like there's
But
just
that
like,
might pay off. I mean, look, that might actually make
and
us
that's what
perform
I was
better in
going to
the
lead
league.
into. That's what I was going
Yeah.
to lead into is that without that, you now have time to train more
Yeah.
for the upcoming matches, less injury, and you should just really focus. I would say focus on the Carabao Cup because City and them are now taking FA Cup a lot seriously. You know, the whole league is actually taking the FA Cup because it is becoming a good, solid accolade like it used to be.
Yeah, it's been
So
having a resurgence. I agree.
yeah, so with you guys, with the extra time, I would just focus on that.
I think that's gonna be the plan. So I'm excited. Well, I think that wraps it up for second week of Premier League results. I'm excited for this weekend. Who do you guys got this weekend?
We have Forest, and I think it'll be our only opportunity at grabbing some confidence and some points, even though they haven't been playing terrible.
No.
Again, it's like we don't have teams that we're going to be able to just roll over coming up because that we have them, and then we have who do we have? Do we have Arsenal like right after that?
I think you have Arsenal after that. Yeah. I mean, like
Oh
there are,
my
you're right.
goodness.
There aren't any teams. I don't know. Luton's only played one game. It's hard to say. Burnley only one game.
Yeah, but that
Everton
stadium's
looks
sick.
like pretty limp, to be totally honest. But like Wolves also have lost their first two games, and I think that they're pretty
Not
legit.
bad. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I
yeah,
don't know. Hopefully, you know, it's 8 a.m. match on the Saturday. I'm going to try and be at the pub as usual. So any people in Colorado, Denver fans out there, United fans, come through the British Bulldog Selfless Plug. Go check it out. It's going to be a good time. 8 a.m. kickoff. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to smash a like, share, subscribe. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot coming at you again. And I mean, we definitely will be talking about all the matches that United are playing. And then Tottenham will talk about the couple they got going on during the season.
absolutely. We will see you next week.
Cheers.
Adios.
Peace.